On May 29th, 2024, South Africa held its national elections. I was there. It was an epic event, very exciting. And of course, the African National Congress dropped below 50% for the first time in a national election. Somewhat of a shock to the ANC, but for the observant in the crowd, it wasn't a shock at all. The endless race hustling, the failure of service delivery, the pervasive corruption, the kleptocracy that the ANC has become made them wildly unpopular. And were it not for rural voters who seem to have no other option, at least in their minds, the ANC would have cratered even further. Also, if it were not for the ineptitude of the opposition Democratic Alliance failing to gain any votes and actually losing votes, down by over 500,000 actual voters since its peak, its zenith under Helen Zille back in 2014, then the ANC would have done even worse. But the ANC has many senior politicians who are very much into race hustling and racism. In the aftermath of last year's election, there was a lot of discussion about forming a coalition. The ANC could not rule on its own, could only rule as a plurality party, which meant that very little could be accomplished in government. So talk was about the Democratic Alliance aligning with the African National Congress, which of course famously we all know did happen. And then the ANC betrayed that bilateral agreement and invited 8 other parties into its so-called Government of National Unity, the GNU, the GNU. Sort of like a wildebeest. Well, a former perpetual minister in government with a very famous surname, made famous by mommy and daddy, but not by her actions, had a lot to say about this. And let me read to you some of what she had to say last year and relate it to the current situation of racial hatred and attacks rising against racial minorities in South Africa. It's this sort of activity from senior politicians, and she's not alone, but I'm going to use the case of a story from a year ago, Lindiwe Sisulu. Allowing the DA to co-govern could bring about a mini apartheid, as we see how the life of Black people is in the Western Cape where the DA governs. Really, how is life for Black folks in the Western Cape? I think Cyril lives pretty well, as do you. Well, that statement did not age well for Lindiwe Sisulu. The perpetual cabinet minister with no skills or accomplishments, living off mommy and daddy's liberation coattails, failed to resonate. Not only has the DA in the GNU not resulted in the ludicrous notion of a return to apartheid, it has actually resulted in an acceleration of the national democratic revolution the ANC seeks. And Black supremacists are stoking racial hatred while the captured South African Human Rights Commission sits idly by and does nothing to protect the dignity of all South Africans.
Ready for war. Me, I'm ready for war. Let's go with them to war. We can't shrink ourselves with 7% population of white people. We are 93%. They are 7%, these white creatures. And they're here to demand a king like me, telling me what the fuck to do. Young glitchy, man.
As with most of her public statements, the race-hustling Sisulu simply brought shame to her parents' surname. Albertina and Walter Sisulu were icons of the liberation movement. She brings nothing but shame. She continued, Black history in South Africa is painful, and many still bear the scars just like me. A marriage between the ANC and DA may not help with the healing process of this beautiful nation. So whatever happened to reconciliation, Ubuntu, unity, where the Freedom Charter claim that South Africa is for all its people? Hey, Ms. Sisulu, what about that? Are you not interested in reconciliation, or is it just all about racial hatred? Like many bum-hurt, uber-privileged, and enriched ANC cadres and Black supremacists around South Africa, she just cannot cotton sharing South Africa with its racial minorities. Should we be asking ourselves why would the ANC even consider a union with the DA and not with our natural allies, the brothers and sisters, in the form of a black pack of progressive forces? Natural allies like the Mkhonto weSizwe Party, which is intent on restoring Jacob Zuma and dismantling the ANC from inside. The EFF, which hates Cyril Ramaphosa and wants to dismantle the ANC. Listen, lady, spare us the propaganda. She said, after all, the struggle of our liberation was mainly to disentangle Black people from colonialism and apartheid's chains. So why are we donating ourselves, including our inherent rich and painful history, to our oppressors? Apartheid's chains, you say. They're long gone, cut loose by 1992, 33 years ago. Your oppressors? Hey, lady, those folks are all dead. They're gone. And the few who actually remain alive are politically neutered. They have no say. The language of Lindiwe Sisulu, Julius Malema, and so many other race hustlers in the ANC itself is one of bigotry, racism, and hatred of other human beings who have caused them no harm. Their only crime is not being born black enough for the ANC. When the National Party did this, the world lost its mind. When the ANC does it, hardly anyone notices. Were it not for Donald Trump's recent action in 2025, things would just get worse and nobody would notice. Newsflash, Lindiwe, the majority of white South Africans have only ever lived under ANC oppression and were not even alive when the National Party ruled. So stop with your endless race hustling and fear-mongering. Now, in what the IOL described in that article in mid-2024 as a clarion call to black leaders, Sisulu urged cooperation. I beg you to unite under one black pact flag to continue with the efforts of black liberation and economic emancipation. Liberation from what? From ANC oppression? Emancipation from what? ANC's racist laws that prevent people from actually succeeding in society? Black, not South African, not progressive, not conservative, but rather black? And what of the 4.8 million white South Africans, the 6 to 8 million colored South Africans, the 1.3 million Indians? Do those 12 to 14 million South Africans not matter in your black world, Lindiwe, Juju, Cyril?
Let me tell you something about me. I am fucking ready for war. Kill the Boer. I am fucking ready for war.
If anyone thinks for a moment that the ANC of 2025 even remotely resembles a party interested in multiracial society, they are deluding themselves. Now, folks, the point of this video was not to castigate teat hanger-on Lindiwe Sisulu, riding mommy and daddy's coattails, but rather to point out how senior ANC politicians and others oh so frequently resort to racial hatred to stoke fears in a population largely born after apartheid ended. They do so for personal, political, and financial gain, self-aggrandizement, self-enrichment. That South Africans fall for this nonsense is somewhat depressing and certainly sad. The rising racial hatred, racial attacks, impoverishment, and other human rights violations emanating from the ANC's black supremacy South Africa deserves closer attention and criticism from the wider world. We see endless stories from op-eds being posted in the captured South African media about how people are trying to tarnish South Africa's reputation. Well, it's your racist laws that tarnish your reputation. It's your poor policing that tarnishes your reputation. It's your association with rogue terror states that tarnishes your reputation. It's the endless lies of the ANC trying to deceive its own population and mislead the world that tarnishes South Africa's reputation. It's not anyone else. You don't need any help in undermining your own reputation. You've done it to yourself. And actors like Lindiwe Sisulu resorting to race hustling and Malema doing the same only make things worse. What say you, South Africa, South Africa, Mzansi, folks around the world? What are your thoughts on this? Cheers.